beep, 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 all that nonsense. I'm going to find that. And I wonder if I could use it. Do you think it's still copyrighted, the RKO thing, after all these years? How are we all? It's great to be speaking to you once again. Yeah. I've been sent an article from Uncommon Ground Media, which was written by Jennifer Bilek. So we're going to go through that. I want to talk to you about that. It's quite a long article. I'm not going to read it all out, but I'm going to just highlight some of the points that's made by Jennifer in there. And I suggest that you go and have a read. Okay, it's because it's a very worthwhile argument, a very worthwhile article that examines a particular behaviour called DARVO. Now, some of you may never heard of that, but it's deny, attack, reverse, victim and offender, which is a practice that narcissists and abusers use. It wasn't me, it was you. You know, it's that sort of nonsense. You made me do that. Always, that you made me do that has particular resonance for some men, some gay men my age, I think, because there's a film called Cruising. This is not related to the article, by the way, I'm just blathering, right, called Cruising, which if you haven't seen it, with Al Pacino in it, get the stomach for it and watch it if you can. It's dark as hell, really dark. But the killer in it hog-ties gay men and then stabs them in the back. And while he's stabbing him in the back, he says, "You made me do that." Ooh. I saw, of all things, I saw it on the same day that I saw Dawn of the Dead years ago. I don't know why. Some strange double bill like they used to do years ago. Anyway, enough of the nonsense about that. You made me do that. Okay, that's that. That's what DARVO is, really. So, Jennifer Bilek's written this. Subscribe, become a warrior teacher, buy me a coffee if you can to help keep me going, get to the end of the month. Or we get the usual, right? Okay, so here we go. Jennifer writes, trans rights activists are just men's rights activists, using the tactics of DARVO, deny, attack, reverse, victim and offender. Now, this is an interesting article because it was written nearly 3 years ago. 2 years ago. Sorry, it was written 2 years ago. We need to disavow ourselves of the idea that transgenderism is anything but a men's rights activist agenda, with MRA, men's rights activist agenda, using tools of manipulation to present themselves as victims. All the rights being openly fought for by TRAs are men's rights to violate women's rights and bodily integrity. Now, I can understand Jennifer saying that, and it's a very valid point and one that certainly is part of the conversation. Unfortunately for me, it doesn't explain the women that are invading gay men's spaces or the way they behave towards us. So it's an interesting one, Jennifer. You know, when I get my studio set up, you and I should have a chinwag, I think, and see if we can drill down on some of these important issues. I don't want to minimise DARVO in any way, because it will be used by these LARPing women in gay men's spaces as well. We see them doing it all the time, moaning about the fact they can't get any sex because gay men don't see them as men. Yeah, it's because you're not, darling. Buzz off. You know, it's like fag hags on steroids. Right? Okay, so go away. Ta-ta. Go away. Right? So, Jennifer, you know, that's something to have a conversation about, isn't it? We'll have a chat, you and I think, once I've got my studio. If I can rope you into it, if you're game, we'll see, right? So, what Jennifer's done, I think this is really important, is she's given us a list of things that need to be addressed. Okay, so, men in women's safe spaces and jails. This fight's still ongoing 2 years later, folks. Men in women's sports. The erasure of females in language, including when it is language pertaining to our specific biology. Even male-identifying women are made invisible behind beards and are virtually silent in society. Men are taking women's scholarships in women's universities. Men are taking women's positions in women's colleges. Men are taking women's awards and accomplishments. Men's sexual and violent crimes being registered as female crimes, including pedophilia. Men bullying, slandering, doxing and getting women fired for calling out their massive gaslighting men's rights activist campaign without any accountability. Men not only speaking over women or for women, but now speaking as women. Men violating the physical integrity of female biology via technology. In a very rapid and strange turn of events, this has all been promoted as social progress over the past decade. There is an acronym designated specifically for this kind of abuse. It's called DARVO, and it refers to a reaction some perpetrators of wrongdoing, particularly sexual offenders, display in response to being held accountable for their behaviour. It stands for deny, attack and reverse victim and offender. They deny their abuse, attack the victim in a way that creates a sense in the victim that they are the actual perpetrator. In short, it's gaslighting, which is exactly what it is. Gaslighting, famous story from many years ago, number of films made about it. Ingrid Bergman was in one of them. It's very good. And then we go backwards to the definition of these particular things. So deny first. Trans rights activists have been screaming transphobia for 6 years, now at anyone who doesn't conform to the dictates of their agenda. This is classic DARVO gaslighting because the entire construct of trans is a pathological fear of an attempt to control biological reality. Transgenderism is the biophobic response to women's ability to gestate and nurture new life in the species. Women exemplify the natural world. They do. Right? So that's deny. Okay? Jennifer then goes on to explain that in more detail, and I do urge you to read this excellent article, even if it is somewhat historic. Attack, reverse victim and offender, which is the next part. We have gone very rapidly from the narrative of the poor dysphoric person trapped in the wrong body to an enlightened lifestyle choice of using your body as a canvas of expression for the multiplicity of sex, the concept of sex as a spectrum, which of course in itself is a downright lie. This is not progress. This is the same pathological need to control women men have exhibited over thousands of years, usually behind the robes of religion and now behind the scalpel of the medical industrial complex. It's hard to argue with the points that Jennifer was making here some 2 years ago. Where once there were witches, women who healed and oversaw births, now there are TERFs. Any woman who dares to step forward and name this DARVO agenda for what it is, this male entitlement to women's reproductive capacities, is being framed as aggressive, fearsome, loathsome, bigoted, hateful, and in need of male tempering and control, when these men are the ones driving the financial threat and power to name and rearrange society. A society where women are being made invisible with their MRI minions carrying baseball bats wrapped in barbed wire and a trans flag. These are DARVO tactics on a grand scale. It's really interesting to go back through to see some of the writing that was taking place 2 years ago, which in this particular battle, because of the nature of this battle and the technology world we now live in, it happens a lot faster. And I think it's a fascinating read to go back and read what Jennifer said 2 years ago and to see how much of it she was right about and how much of it is exactly describing the kind of thing that we're now seeing. What I'd be interested to know is how Jennifer thinks that fits into the larger critical social justice agenda. I've had this conversation, and I don't think that we should for 1 second stop saying that gender identity, ideology and queer theory are a problem in their own way. But I think that they are connected deeply to the critical social justice movement, and we might well deal with those heads of the Hydra. We're still going to have to deal with the others because it's getting nothing but worse. Now, I put the links into the Dubris so that you can find it. If you want to know more about what Jennifer does, that takes you to her Substack, not Substack, to her website on Uncommon Ground Media. You'll see a number of articles from her there. And also she's available to follow on Twitter. You just simply have to search for her. I think we people saw this. Back in 2018 when I first lost my contract at the university, and then when I had my operation, came out and wrote about it, this mad book, which I really ought to revisit. It was a cult to me then, and it's a cult to me now. It sometimes pays for us to have a look back and reflect. Has much changed? And I think Jennifer hit the nail on the head then, and I think things have changed. I think people are beginning to speak, but it's slow, oh so slow, when this has happened so quickly. And that's because we are a grassroots movement, and they are a collectivist imposition. There's the difference. Right? So we're like little shoots, all gradually finding each other, and things will begin to change, as I mentioned the other day, when LGBT Alliance have now got student groups in universities. Take heart, folks, okay? So to look back and see what Jennifer said, that really gave us a picture of 2020. I think the picture is now different in 2023, and I look forward, to possibly speaking to Jennifer about that. As we move forward with my studio construction and eventually get to the point where I can start to interview people, which I think will be a really fascinating and life-affirming thing for me to do. So I'm very excited about doing that. Anyway, that's it from me today. So go and enjoy yourselves. Buy me a coffee if you can. Subscribe, share this, quote, tweet, all the blah, blah, blah. That's what we should do more of, right? Okay, so I'll see you later. Have a great day. Ta-da!